boys and girls. We are going to be reading a story today called The Kite, and it's from a book called Days with Frog and Toad. And The Kite is one of the chapters. And we've actually read one of the Frog and Toad stories before. I think it was called The Garden. So this one's going to be a little bit different, but it has the same characters, Frog and Toad. And first, let's talk about some of the words we need to know. Word number 1 is second. The boy is trying to tie his second sneaker. So second is number 2, right? Number 2 is ball. She practiced until she could hit the ball well. Number 3, across. The runners dashed across the finish line. Number 4, head. He hit the ball with his head to make a goal. Number 5, heard. The children heard clapping at the end. Number 6, large. It was not too hard to ride up the large hill. Number 7 is cried. We can do it, cried the team. So that's not the kind of cried like when you're crying tears. That's like cheering or yelling. Number 8 is should. The teacher said that she should try again. All right. So this week we're talking about story structure. And story structure are all the different parts that make up the story. So the characters are the people and animals in the story, and the setting is where or when a story takes place, and the plot talks about the problem that the characters have and how they solve their problem, the beginning, the middle, and end. So this would be like a little story map to show the characters, the setting, and the plot. We're also going to infer or predict. So we're going to use text evidence to figure out more about the story and to think about what might happen next. So the story is kind of about weather. Weather can cause problems. Storms can damage homes. Too much rain can lead to floods. The weather can also help us. Rain helps crops grow, and wind helps us fly kites. You will find out if the wind helps Frog and Toad and the kite, or if it's a problem. All right, let's get started reading the story. The Kite from Days with Frog and Toad by Arnold LaBelle. And remember our essential question, how can weather change your day? The Kite. Frog and Toad went out to fly a kite. They went to a large meadow where the wind was strong. Our kite will fly up and up, said Frog. It will fly all the way up to the top of the sky. Toad, said Frog, I will hold the ball of string. You hold the kite and run. Toad ran across the meadow. He ran as fast as his short legs could carry him. The kite went up in the air. It fell to the ground with a bump. Toad heard laughter. 3 robins were sitting in a bush. That kite will not fly, said the robins. You may as well give up. Aww. Toad ran back to Frog. Frog, said Toad, this kite will not fly. I give up. Let's predict. Do you think he's going to give up? Do you think they're just going to call it a day and not try to fly the kite anymore? We'll see. And look, let's talk about the story structure. We already can probably say who the characters are, right? Who do you think the characters are? So far we have Frog and Toad. We even have some robins. And what is the setting? For when, it looks like the setting is daytime. And for where, they're in a meadow. And now let's talk about the problem. So the problem is they want to fly a kite, but the kite is not flying. So let's see what happens. We must make a second try, said Frog. Wave the kite over your head. Perhaps that will make it fly. Toad ran back across the meadow. He waved the kite over his head. The kite went up in the air and then fell down with a thud. What a joke, said the robins. That kite will never get off the ground. Those robins do not seem very helpful. Toad ran back to Frog. This kite is a joke, he said. It will never get off the ground. We have to make a third try, said Frog. Wave the kite over your head and jump up and down. Perhaps that will make it fly. Toad ran across the meadow again. Do you think it's going to work? He waved the kite over his head. He jumped up and down. The kite went up in the air and crashed down into the grass. Nope, didn't work. That kite is junk, said the robins. Throw it away and go home. Toad ran back to Frog. This kite is junk, he said. I think we should throw it away and go home. Oh, he wants to give up. Toad, said Frog, we need one more try. Wave the kite over your head, jump up and down, and shout, Up, kite, up! Toad ran across the meadow. He waved the kite over his head. He jumped up and down. He shouted, Up, kite, up! Let's make a prediction. Do you think it's going to work? Or do you think it's going to crash down again? The kite flew into the air. It climbed higher and higher. We did it, cried Toad. Yes, said Frog. If a running try did not work, a running and waving try did not work, and a running, waving, and jumping try did not work, I knew that a running, waving, jumping, and shouting try just had to work. The robins flew out of the bush, but they could not fly as high as the kite. Frog and Toad sat and watched their kite. It seemed to be flying way up at the top of the sky. All right, that is the end of The Kite from Days with Frog and Toad. So we'll read it one more time tomorrow and answer some questions.